Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm going to be honest and say that when I listen to that intro music to every podcast, it gets me a bit pumped up, and I hope it does the same for you. Today is going to be another mini episode where I'm going to share some insights with you that I've learned recently, and it has to do with all three of the guests that I've had on the podcast so far: Anna, Johnny, and Tony. So if you're ready, let's dive in. So before we get into my learnings and sharing them with you, I want to share a little bit about me. One of my habits that I have been working on to create is in the morning, I have been reading, and I read things that are going to improve my life in some way. And then at night, I'll usually read a good fiction book. And I've been really into Colleen Hoover lately, and every book that I've read of hers has been amazing. But going back to the self-improvement, I finished this book sometime in January, and it really gave me a lot of perspective on things. And that's what I want to share with you today. Now, this book is by Gary John Bishop, and it's called Unf Yourself. And I think I would use that word, but part of me is like, oh my gosh, what if my mom listens to this? I can't use that word in front of her, so I'm not going to. But this has been a really great book. It was a really easy read, and it's a New York Times bestseller. And I want to share with you one of the points that has stuck with me, and it's something that you can use at any point in your life, whether you're tired of your job, whether you're tired of how things are going in your life. And each one of my guests have displayed this in such an amazing way. So what it comes down to, if I could just summarize chapter 2, it's about how willing or unwilling are you to put up with things in your life. And the very first sentence says, you have a life that you're willing to put up with. Now, you can use this willing or unwilling in a good way or negative way. So think back to Tony Weaver, where he talked about project management and how it helped him in his life to lose weight. He was unwilling to continue his life the way it was going. He's like, I'm done. I see the scale and I'm ready to make changes, which turned into a willing attitude to make that change. Look at Johnny Scott. He was unwilling to continue his life as a corporate worker because he had the entrepreneurial spirit and knew he could be successful. And so he was willing to change it. Let's go back to Anna. She was unwilling to continue her habits in the workplace that was causing her to get corrective action. Therefore, she was willing to make changes. And what it really comes down to is a choice. What choice do you need to make? What have you been willing to put up with that you've been complaining about? Is it your job? If your job is awful, that's because you're willing to put up with it. Is your relationship awful? That's because you're willing to put up with it. And you're unwilling to change. It could be any situation in your life, but it comes down to a choice and what you want to do. And let me tell you that nobody is doing it perfectly. There is a reason why I started this podcast and I named it after myself. That's because I know that this may change down the road, and I didn't want to have to change the title of my podcast, and my name is not changing, so that's what it is. But I was willing to take a leap. I was unwilling to say, what if? Could I? Would this be successful? What if it fails? What if nobody listens? Those things don't matter. All of us have so much power in the choices that we make every day. But it comes down to you in making a choice. Are you going to put up with things as long as you have been? Are you going to continue to complain about them? Or are you unwilling, saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm ready to make a change. It all comes down to you because nobody is going to step in and do it for you. Nobody is going to make that job change. Nobody's going to tell you to start a business. Nobody's going to say, hey, go grow on Instagram and start with 0 followers. Everybody's been there. Everybody. You don't have to do it all perfectly. You don't have to always have a plan. You just have to jump in with both feet. Be willing to fail, as Johnny Scott mentioned. Now, one of the sentences I liked that he said was, believe me, I hear you. If you're saying I'm willing, but, he's like, every time you say but, at the end of that statement, you turn yourself into the victim. So let's take an example. Let's say you don't like your job and you choose to stay because you're willing to put up with it. I ask of you, if you're willing to put up with it, stop complaining about it. Stop complaining about it. If you're not willing to change it, we don't want to hear about it over and over and over again. What we really want to see is you change your life. We want to see you be willing to make that change. And to be honest, that was me a year ago. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I talked about it every day. I didn't make a change. And if for some reason you feel you don't have a choice, I want to tell you something that I've learned is that there is nothing externally that is going to fix you internally. All of the work you have to do is on the inside. So if you say, you know what, I'm not in a position to leave or find another job, whatever your situation may be, don't ever think that there is something external that is going to make you happy. This is something I absolutely love talking about, and I have to remind myself of this as well when I think, yeah, winning $700 million in the lottery would be amazing. Yeah, maybe, but will it make me happier? Probably temporarily, but man, I've won the lottery of life, and so have you. The fact that you get to be here, yeah, that's amazing. I hope this podcast was helpful, helps you look at situations in your life and ask yourself, am I willing or am I unwilling? And I'll definitely put a link in the description if you'd like to check out this book. That's all for now, and until next time.